The College of Engineering wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for the comprehensive nature of this campus. The fact that we have business and social sciences and dance and theater. I think our engineers make up more than half of the marching band most years, right? So if we didn't have a comprehensive university like this, the college wouldn't be what it is. So as I kind of celebrate some of these things, let's talk about how it's influenced and lifted up by the whole campus. And then I'm going to leave ample time because there's a lot of chaos going on in higher education right now, a lot of really difficult things that we're navigating. I left those off of the presentation, if you will, but I would be so happy to talk with you about how we're navigating some of the challenges and opportunities of what's going on in the world right now, because it is a pretty crazy time for higher education. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started here. And I'm not sure why my clicker's not working, so I'll use this. So as I talked about honoring our foundations, right? What better year to do that than in our 150th anniversary? So have any of you started to participate in the events? Lots coming up, lots of fun things coming up. It really is a time to celebrate. Since 1876, we've been a public university, a flagship university, and something I think is incredibly special. So throughout the year, and really leaning heavily in the fall, there's going to be a lot of events around history. Brian Argro, one of our faculty here, is what's called a sesquicentennial professor. So a scholar, he's going to be speaking and doing a TED Talk on his work with UAVs and flying things into tornadoes to learn more about them, things like that, and really exciting stuff. We're trying to find missing histories. Stein's already helped me with a little bit in engineering. I've been digging up, especially some of our women professors over the years, and then really trying to inspire towards the future. So there's a really simple website that you can go to find out more. And it is just colorado.edu/150. And up there, you'll see all kinds of stories, from throughout our history, from when it was just Old Main through as the buildings grew and as our impact grew. A couple of things that are up there that are exciting to me. Well, let me do it this way. How are you all on your CU Boulder knowledge? Feeling pretty good? Okay. Let me give you a quiz. This will be, I'll do two of them, two Boulder trivia here, engineering oriented, and then I'll do one general one. Okay, so does anybody know, we're 150 years old as a university, 1876. Anybody know what year the College of Engineering was founded?
1890. I'm probably 1906.
Okay, 1906, 1892, 1876. We've surrounded it, but not quite got it. So if you keep guessing, whoever gets it, we'll give a nice Colorado tumbler for here. So if we weren't a department or a college the year that we became a university, so it was a little later than that. But not much later. Well, Stein was really close, but you only get one guess. There you go, Dobislav, well done. So 1893. Why do you know?
Because I missed the 100th anniversary because I was on my first sabbatical in Italy.
Oh, that's a good reason. That's a good reason to miss it. All right. We've had an engineering professor who was also president of the university. Anybody know who that was? Oh gosh, everybody said at the same time. I think, Jim, you were the first though. And so I know you love to travel, so here's a nice College of Engineering luggage tag for you.
Does it find it for me?
Does it? You have to put an air tag in there if you want to find it for you. Yeah, so Roland Rautenstrauss was Civil engineer, department chair of civil engineering, went on to become the president before we had chancellors, and went on to become president of the university. One of the other big things that he was a big part of was bringing the turnpike. And I don't know if any of you remember, but it was actually a toll road to get into Boulder. And one of the few toll roads in the United States that actually paid itself off, and they took the tolls off of it. So, but he was instrumental in bringing that in. All right, I'll ask one more. I'm going to cheat. It's university, but it's a little bit engineering based. So what chancellor of the campus is also an engineer? So we became chancellors after president. Now the president is of the 4 universities. He's a nuclear engineer. He's also our current chancellor. You're all retired. He's a mechanical engineer and a nuclear engineer. Yes. All right. Justin Schwartz. Justin Schwartz. So I'm not going to keep this, though. I got more of these. Okay, we'll go. This one's general. This one's a general CU one. Which Supreme Court justice was also an All-American football player from the University of Colorado? Byron White. Yes, very good. Byron Whizzer White. Yes, well done. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah. So we have an amazing history here, right? We really do. And what I like about, what they're doing with this, and you can contribute stories, please get in there and help us contribute stories, but they're also trying to share the untold stories, right? Some of those that may have been buried. And, one of my favorite things that we do, and it's difficult, but I think we all need to embrace it, is we read the Norland Charge at graduation every year, right? And talks about, right, the charge at graduation, but also talks about how Norland refused to take funding from the state when it was required that he was asked to have all Jewish and Catholic professors and staff leave the university because of the leanings of the governor at that time. And I think remembering things like that is so important because today we have lots of pressures on us. And today we need to be, even more steadfast in our values and who we want to be and who we want to become and who we represent as a public university. So please engage in this, and thank you for all that you've all contributed to get us to this place. So I am going to spend time talking about the college, and I'm going to do this around our strategic vision. And when I started as dean, I actually went back and looked at some of our visions from back before the turn of the century, and some of these things remain true. Thank you for recognizing the number of women that are coming in here, but that was really standing on the shoulders of what our Engineering Advisory Council, Ross Carotis, Dean Davis, others have been doing for 20 years. These things take decades to make changes, right? And if you don't know how special that is, we're still about 17% as an engineering industry, women, right? It's 83% men. And so it's not an inviting and welcoming career always for women. And so to make changes like this, because we need a workforce that's diverse, we do. We can't design solutions to improve society without having a really diverse set of engineers. For example, airbags, when they were first designed in cars, were supposed to be saving people, but they were designed for tall men, and shorter women were actually getting injured, right? Because we didn't have that engineering solution in there. These are really important things. It's not, so many reasons this is important, but that's why we strive for these things. And we do this by setting out a vision, right? And so our vision, and we're in our 5th year right now, deals with engineering sustainable solutions to improve the life, to improve the quality of life in our state and nation. And honestly, engineers don't become engineers just because they're good at math or because they know they're going to get good paying jobs. Both of those have to be true. The first has to be true. The second seems to be true. It's a very lucrative career. Students want to change the world, right? They want to make a better place. They want to create clean water. Engineers Without Borders was started here, and students are traveling all over the world to create clean water projects. They want to improve transportation. They want to improve health. They want to, in this building, right? They want to explore the stars and, make communications and a space economy that really improves life for everyone. This is what they want to do. And so we do that through research and innovation, education, and inclusion. And we stick to these pillars, and every one of these pillars is the basis for the decisions I make when I have to allocate resources or hire faculty or work to move the college forward. And these sound like pretty high level topics, but we actually get down and we measure them. So altogether, it took us a year in rooms like this. We all got together to develop this vision and set things up. And so you can actually measure some of these through metrics. One is U.S. News and World Report rankings. You can debate whether external rankings are a good thing or a bad thing, but it certainly does bring students here, especially international students, and it helps us to retain faculty and get research projects as well. And then we can get into our actions. So, a few of them are like 10% of our college faculty in national leadership positions. We're trying to do that to help shape research. Full cost of attendance for first-gen Pell-eligible students. So this was a goal we set, and this one's very dear to my heart, right? As a first-gen student myself, and watching students leave because they don't have support at home or don't have finance. These are some goals that we set 5 years ago and that we've been trying to strive after. So to kind of set that up, I'm not going to bury the lead here. I'm going to tell you how this has worked out. And since I've been working in the college, this is what's happened with our rankings. And you can all be very proud that the University of Colorado now has a top 10 ranked College of Engineering for research. That's among publics, and that's across the whole college. So think about that, right? We're competing with both coasts, right? Berkeley to Virginia Tech, right? All the publics around the country in a state of just 5 million people. Pretty incredible that we're doing that. When we include publics and privates, so Columbia, Stanford, others, right? We're at 18, and there's hundreds of these. There's 167 publics that we're competing with, and I'm sorry, I forgot how many publics and privates, but it's over 300. So that's something you should all be really proud of, right? That this college and this campus can produce that type of national reputation, and we are really excited about that. And this is the first year ever, this just came out last month, that every one of our departments has a top 20 degree program in it as well. So it's not, Aerospace, of course, is our jewel. It's the highest ranked, and with our 22 astronauts that we've had, or is it 23 now? It's 23 now, yes, yeah. We just had Sarah Gillis at graduation. Get this. So our newest astronaut, she just spoke so eloquently, just sent the students off incredibly. Guess what year she graduated? I'm going to make you feel bad. So she graduated here in 2018, and she's already flown to space. So up until the Artemis mission, she was the woman who flew furthest from the US, or I'm sorry, from the globe, so from the world. You might remember her, she's actually a Boulder, so she grew up in Boulder, and her mom leads the Boulder Philharmonic, so she learned how to play violin. So you might remember the videos of her up in the SpaceX capsule playing the violin, and the reason was to test the communication systems that we use. And as she flew around the world, her music was beamed down to different K through 12 orchestras, and she played with people in the US and Australia and Japan as she flew around the world, and the SpaceX links actually worked. So but incredible things going on with that. And just so proud. Our biological engineering is 26, but that's only a few years old. So it's something to really be proud of. So how do we get there? We focus on research and innovation. And these are just some outputs, and you can see it's been a pretty good rise in what we're doing with research. Is really the larger interdisciplinary projects. So no longer do we just have civil engineers doing projects or aerospace engineering projects, right? We keep growing not only across the college with our interdisciplinary research, but across campus as well, working with LASP, working with physics, working with law, all different types of folks on really human-driven problems, clean water, health, wellness. I'll just give you a couple examples. And back to that, getting 10% of our faculty into leadership positions, this is also what's driving us, especially now when we've seen such a downturn in federal funding. So we have a program that names and recognizes and provides funding if you're doing things that shape national research agendas or shape national policy. So you can see advancing global water security policy. That's someone, Evan Thomas, I believe, out of civil engineering. We have a computer scientist who's on the U.S. representative to the United Nations scientific panel on AI and governance. She's trying to make sure that ancient languages don't get lost as we develop AI models and that we're doing these in multiple languages. So this is kind of forward thinking and trying to advance our research agenda, not just responding to what people are asking for. And that's worked pretty well. We've done some very large projects in aerospace and defense, quantum engineering, and microelectronics. So you might hear a lot about chips and needing to bring those back to the US. These are multi-university consortium. So we're parts of very large teams. And so encouraging faculty to really work along those areas. If you don't know, Boulder and the Front Range and the University of Colorado is truly the epicenter for quantum engineering and quantum startup companies. Everybody thinks of quantum computing, but there's a lot with quantum sensing, quantum measurements, and quantum communications. There's some other universities who are ahead of us, Chicago in quantum computing, but we really are leaders in so many areas. We're also leaders in AI, right? We just got renewed for a 6th year at a $40 million grant and looking at how AI is being used in K through 12 situations, right? So, AI has been in the news for the last 2.5 years, but this program started again 6 years ago. So we were kind of anticipating and leading this. Some really incredible things going on, but not just ChatGPT or generating new images, but how is this helping new K through 12 students really take full advantage of AI learning and teaming. Just a couple other really cool highlights. We have Nicole Zhu. She's doing bio-inspired jellyfish robots. So she's figuring out how to manipulate jellyfish so we can capture important measurements of scientific measurements of the sea. We have Chris Bowman is working on a better Band-Aid, basically organic and polymer Band-Aids. Eric Frew here is working on dispersed autonomy for safety. So these are drones, not just for defense, but more for safety, wildfire, other things, very large consortium. And one of the really cool things for all of us is Stephanie Bryant's working on novel innovations for tissue regeneration. So for osteoarthritis, being able to, instead of getting knees replaced, have a shot that can actually help the knee heal in place. And I know many of us have been affected by that. And so these are just incredible innovations that are coming out of the college. The other really cool thing that's happened certainly since I've been here, is just the number of startups. Anybody know what a unicorn is in the startup world? So it's a company that's a small startup that ends up being sold off for more than $1 billion. And we have just had our 10th inflection quantum, which was Dana Anderson's quantum company, go for, I think it was close to $3 billion. And in the next few weeks, NanoForge will be our 11th unicorn. These are inventions that are started out of our laboratories, right down the hallway here, right? So right next to my office, all of the batteries that are being used in GM cars, the science for that was developed in the mechanical engineering wing of the College of Engineering through a company called Solid Power that came out. Incredible stuff, truly changing the world is coming out. And I think it's because of this innovation mindset we have and our, being around the national labs and being around so much, innovation. We have more startup companies in the Boulder, Denver corridor per capita, per person than Silicon Valley. Not many folks know that, right? We're smaller, but actually per capita, we create more innovation than Silicon Valley in California. And here's just one graphic. Sorry if it's a little small, but to me, this is incredible. CU Boulder in 2024 started up 35 companies. And so that's the most ever compared to Stanford beat us one year with 38, and then they were third with 32 behind us. But look at those other names up there, right? MIT, Stanford, Michigan, Columbia, right? That year we outperformed all of their best years. It just keeps growing and growing. So, what does that do? It really impacts the economy of the state, right, and the region, and helps us with growth. Our number one industry in the state of Colorado is actually aerospace, right? And I would propose to you that's because of the University of Colorado, right? Certainly one of the factors, Air Force Academy and others, but Ball Aerospace was started up by professors here, right? It's now BAE. We work very closely with Lockheed Martin. Sierra Nevada's here, Sierra Corp now. But I would propose to you that it really is because of CU Boulder here and the innovation that spurs from that. So kind of switching to education, remember our three pillars are research and innovation, education and inclusion, and I'll be ready to answer questions here in just a few minutes. I wanted just to share a few things that are going on with education. The first is just we can't graduate enough engineers, right? So Ross, you might recall, you got to kind of oversee about 6,000 faculty and staff and students, I think, when you kind of wrapped up there. Maybe not quite that many, but I'm seeing with faculty, staff, and students, actually well over 11,000 folks now that I get to oversee. But it's been a constant growth. And this next year, we actually got surprised by the number of students coming in. You have to work on what your historic yield is. So, you let in more students that you think are going to come in, and then you base that on your history. This year, we had more students than have ever, our highest yield ever. So we were surprised by the number of students who accepted our offers, and we're really actually in a little bit of trouble. I don't know, this room isn't going to be big enough for all the aerospace students, unfortunately. So, but it's been fun to go through that. But one of my big things as dean is actually not chasing after growth, but making sure that we're caring for and elevating our students and giving them an excellent experience. And so I just wanted to share two things with you that we've done in the last couple of years. Remember that idea to give 100% funding for our first gen Pell Grant eligible students? Well, we created a program that does that. It's called our Lattice Scholars Program. And it's fully donor funded. And it's an incredible program. So we have over 100 scholars in there now. So if in your application, you tell us that you're the first in your family to go to college and that you have financial need, we actually use gift funds to 100% cover your cost of education. That's not just tuition, that's room and board as well. And then on top of that, we provide math and extra tutoring, and then we also bring everybody together in cohorts because we know that cohorts help retention and help people be successful. So you might ask why? Well, it's the right thing to do, right? But also, this group of students was our group that was at highest risk of leaving the university. So when we started this program, on average, only about 73% of these students who showed up made it into the second year. So 27% were leaving. Our college average is 90%, making it into the second year. Some leave the universities, others leave engineering and go to another college. Excuse me. In our third cohort, we had 93% of these students stayed. So we actually got them past our majority average. And so the program is working and it's helping them to become engineers. And not only that, it's going to help them go back to their communities and help raise up communities who haven't had role models, parents, others who've gone to a university to grow. So the impact of this has been phenomenal. The other thing we've done, and this was probably my hardest decision and also the one that I got the most negative feedback on before making it, was we moved 100% of our first-year students out to Williams Village. We had evidence that when students were cohorted in a residential program, a residential academic program, that they had better student success. We knew that we would raise our retention rates by 2 to 3%. So we made the bold call to, instead of just have about 40% of our engineers in residential academic programs, to try and get 100%. And the only place we could do that was at Williams Village. One of the alumni actually wrote an open letter to the Daily Camera to tell me what a bad idea that was, because the students would be isolated out there, they wouldn't do well, and it's actually, and they wouldn't meet non-engineers. It's actually turned out to be just the opposite. The students are closer together. They come to main campus to study, and then they go home. They call it going home to their residence. We have programming out there. And the first year we did it, we have 1,200 students out there, and we have them swipe in their cards to show that they participated. And we had 1,500 individual students swipe in. So we had 300 non-engineers who were so excited about our programming out there that they actually joined in with the engineers. So, and our retention's gone up as well. And, the fun thing about this is we also turned it into, we ask you to, we require that you're in a 5-week course to start your freshman year. And I actually teach this course. So there's 57 sections. We limit it to 20 students, and we want the students to be able to meet a faculty member. And so it's the first 5 weeks. We do that to help them get into the rhythm. And also we finish it right after they go through their first calculus exam, which many of them really struggle on. And so we help them be resilient, and then the class is over and they finish the rest of the semester. It's been an incredible experience. And I had never actually taught students who had just finished high school and started college before. I'd always taught junior, senior year. And it's just been an incredible experience, and the student feedback has been wonderful. And our retentions has gone up because of it. The last thing I have in the undergraduate education is just around AI. I'm not sure how many of you have been following it, but it has completely changed how we teach. Probably the simplest story, Gerhard, you'll appreciate this. We had one faculty member, he was known for his master's computer science programming take-home exam that would take all weekend at the end of the master's class. And he had taught this class the same way for about 18 years. Turns out, when the latest version of ChatGPT came out, his take-home exam could be solved in less than 3 minutes by putting it into AI, right? So he had to completely change the way that he's teaching, right, for the last 18 years, right? And that was like his signature thing. And this has happened across every level. There is nothing in a physics degree all 4 years that can't be solved by AI right now. So how do we change how we teach? How do we change students, allow them to, this is what they're going to be doing when they graduate, right? This is what they're going to be using. But, between, you're happy you didn't teach during COVID because you had to learn overnight how to teach on Zoom. And you're happy that you weren't teaching when ChatGPT came out because all of your solutions that you generated for years or papers, this is the same thing, right? With language, anything written is done now automatically as well. So it's a challenge, right? You have to figure out how to help students work through this and learn yourself. So we're putting in a lot of programs and support and helping faculty to develop that. A lot of them are embracing it, truly, because they feel they can do a better job as well. Graduate education, probably our most innovative thing. If any of you want to get a master's degree in artificial intelligence, you're welcome to do so, and you can do that online now. So we do it through Coursera, and it's actually a performance-based degree. So you take the first 3 classes, and if you pass, then you can automatically be admitted for the degree. So we have students, I think it was over 53 countries at last count, getting CU Boulder degrees in these areas: data science, electrical engineering, AI. Really exciting stuff. And if you look, actually, I showed you that graph of our student enrollments going up. The residential master's program is going exactly the opposite direction. We have to learn how to deliver education online to where the working professionals aren't stopping their jobs and coming back to get master's degrees anymore like I did, right? They want these degrees online. All right, I'll wrap up with inclusion. We've had something called the BOLD Center, the Broadening Opportunity for Learning and Leadership and Development, for quite some time. I'm not sure, Ross, if we had the minority engineering program when you were there, but these developed over about 20 years ago. We just got a $5 million grant from one of our alumni to make sure that we have a center for our students to get additional tutoring, develop leadership skills, and have scholarships. It's an incredible place, and this is where our Society for Women Engineers is based, and we're getting close to having the largest Society for Women Engineers in the country. Our Black Engineering Association, also, just other affinity-based student groups work here. We actually have 80+ student organizations in the college, and a lot of them work through the Campus Student Center. And then the other thing that we've realized becoming such a big college is that we have to create small cohort experiences. So if you're in aerospace, there's, I think, 3 or 4 rocket clubs right now, right? There's a sounding rocket club. There's I'm forgetting them all. There's all kinds of competitions, and the synergy that those students get and the support that they get, and it's amazing that you would think engineering is so time-consuming and rigorous. We actually see better retention and success from students who participated in student groups versus those who haven't. And so that doing the additional work outside of classroom is actually helps you with student success. And so we're really trying to do this throughout. And then lastly, this was something I started when I became dean, and back to our increasing women in the college. When I was a student here, and Jim and Stein, you might remember this, I never took a class from a female professor. And that's in my lifetime, right? So when I was a student here, I never took a class from a woman professor. And we only had 4 tenure track women professors in 1987 in the college. Actually, Betty Beck, I think she was the first, yep. And she started the first Society of Women Engineering program back there, yep. And so, now I'm really happy to say that about a little over a third of our faculty are women, and we have well over 100 women in the college. And I think that's like I started with, right? We need diverse perspectives to solve these, wicked problems that we have for society, to solve these incredible challenges. And so this is a site you can get up there celebrating our engineering leaders, where our Society for Women Engineering Students wrote stories about the faculty members, the women faculty members that were so meaningful in their careers. And you'll see Joanne Silverstein, you'll see one about Betty Beck up there, and others. And I think it's something that we really need to celebrate and move forward with. So with that, that's kind of the college and the vision. And I am a dean, so I have to do this. If any of you would like to contribute to this vision, if any of you would like to support this, we can do these things. We can have these margins of excellence because of generous donations. And it is incredible to see the difference you can make. So I could tell you my giving is to the Lattice program. That's where I give, and I want to see those students succeed. If any of you and our engineering professors especially, do want to make a difference or want to see an impact, talk to me and I can get you to the right place. Okay, I won't dwell on that though. All right. So with that, I'm not sure how we're doing on time, but I would love to, again, I kind of celebrated stuff, but I'd love to answer any questions at all about the college, about where we are in higher education right now, what the future might look like. So I think we'll need to do this with a microphone so the folks online can hear us. And if I can ask the folks online, why don't I ask questions here and then we can go online next. Does that sound good? All right. Anybody? Yeah. Thanks, Dave.
Okay, thanks. That was inspirational and fun to look back a little bit. I wasn't even here in 1876. I don't think anybody was. I had one question regarding, you show the growth. We've had a lot of growth in our department, especially in Aero and in the college. We hear a lot about this demographic cliff coming. What's the status on that now for the next 5 years? Are we really going to see a downturn in enrollment? Is that projected still?
So thanks for the question. Yeah, there's a demographic change coming in the United States. And if kind of globally, it's happening too, right? In developed countries, you start to see the birth rate dropping, right? To where we're not even having a family of 4 anymore, right? So women are getting below an average of 2 babies in their families. And so across the US, we're seeing what's called a demographic cliff, or what in higher ed is called the enrollment cliff, right? And we're worried about that. Luckily, in Colorado, we're one of 7 growing states still. So the other 43 are truly declining. We're one of 7 growing states. Our demographics are certainly changing though, right? Where we're growing is with Hispanic population. So we are looking to make sure that we're creating a welcoming, community for that demographic coming up. To your question, we're starting to look at 2035 as potentially seeing some decline, but it's not impacting CU Boulder or the flagships as much. You are going to see tens of universities closing here and community colleges closing here in Colorado. And across the US, you're already seeing a lot of liberal arts, a lot of consolidation going on with universities. because of Boulder being, this is where the rankings help us, right? Or where the prestige, we get more applications than we can possibly accept. So for us, it's still going okay. But it's something we need to look at in the next 10 years. And certainly other universities in the state and across the country are dealing with it right now. UCCS and CU Denver are already seeing some of it. But our predictions are, and certainly in engineering, it's a very sought after degree, but I think it's going to first affect campus more so. Yeah.
So in the age of artificial intelligence, teaching, learning, understanding, and practicing engineering must pose certain challenges.
Yeah.
You probably deal with it frequently. So what are they?
Yeah. So let me tell you kind of the outcome of the professional engineering profession first, right? So the engineering profession is kind of built on billable hours, if you will, right? So, if I'm designing a bridge, I have so many people designing it for so long and I get paid for that. That is completely changing, right? The modeling that can be done now with AI, what I'm seeing in the professional engineerings, they're not going to just be billing hours anymore. They'll be billing products or selling products now. We're seeing people who are non-engineers come in and being able to generate multiple engineering solutions, bad ones, but do them very quickly and give owners and users ideas of that. And so our engineers are needing to become good at understanding the output, good at understanding the boundary conditions of input, and think about how the engineering profession is going to change when so much of it can be automated. Now this isn't different than, so when I was first graduated, I remember working on the Lutheran Medical Center as a construction manager. And we were doing a renovation for a new emergency room. And I looked at a set of 1936, I believe it was, plans of that building. Each brick was drawn by hand, right? Every door was drawn by hand and numbered by hand, right? We haven't done that for 40 years, right? I mean, CAD has been, computer automated design has been around, right? So we made it through that, right? We made it through the transition from slide rule to computer, right? But the pace of this change is just incredible, right? The pace, the fact that, well, here's a big impact. AI has made the entry-level coding computer scientist obsolete. So what was done just 3 years ago, where students would learn to code and would do the basic code and send it up to their senior faculty or their senior folks, is gone. We have 90% plus 90% placement for all of engineering. In the last 2 years, we've dropped to about 50% placement for computer scientists. They're not hiring. Our enrollment in computer science today, what we predict for this fall, is less than half of what it was 2 years ago. So we were over 200. This year, we're under 100, right? That's the first impact, have been the people coding, like doing physical code, because it's just done by AI. There's a couple things that are going on there. One is, Meta and Google and Apple are all investing in compute. So, purchasing big data centers, and they have fewer dollars to actually spend. We need to change the way that we teach so that the students aren't doing that code, but taking the output of the code, iterating on it, making the products, right? You don't need to design the apps anymore. The apps can be, quickly designed for you in AI. So to your question of, this is how the profession is changing. How do we change the way that we teach so our students are ready? And what's crazy is the senior leaders in these engineering companies hire our engineers and they say, oh, well, you're young, you must know how to use AI, right? But are we fulfilling their need? It's complex.
So that poses the questions. Do students and practitioners really need to understand what they're doing now with AI? Or
Yes.
just let AI do it all? And,
Yeah. So there is no discussion of us not teaching calculus, differential equations, physics, right? You have to understand that, right? What we have to learn is and there's kind of two philosophies that are going on with the faculty in those areas. Excuse me. One is, how do I make sure students aren't cheating, right? How do I make sure that they're not just doing their homework on AI, right? And then the other is, how do I use AI to enhance their learning, right? And honestly, the AI tutors for calculus are much more effective than waiting outside somebody's door for office hours today. Seriously, right? I mean, the time it takes a student to leave Williams Village, go wait, hopefully see the professor, sit in a line and get 2 or 3, the professors now can say they can make auto-generating practice problems in AI, and the students can do that and then come in. We've seen office hours go down, but we've actually seen learning improve. So
and understanding also.
And understand, yeah, right? So that's a key. Yeah, it's a crazy time. It really is. And, one of those of you I don't know if any of you, assigned writing, right? I mean, so this first year class I teach has 3 one-page essays. I chose to encourage them to use AI to help them write. And it's really easy to see who just put in a prompt and handed in what AI spit out versus who tried to write it themselves with no AI help versus who iterated on it and used my prompts to help them really write an incredibly rich, one-page article that was well-written, well-structured, and told me about themselves and personal, right? So we have to get to that point where you're using it to help the students because that's what they're going to do when they're working. Yeah.
Thank you. Enjoyed your comments, by the way. Bill Krantz, I may be the oldest person here. I'm not quite sure of that, but I came to see you in 1968 in the Department of Chemical Engineering. Anyway, I've been retired for a long time. My question is this. The challenge today, as you pointed out, is that the pace of change is absolutely staggering.
Yeah.
And one of the problems with having been on the faculty is that how do we as faculty, or the faculty today, somehow keep up with that pace of change? Because it's very comfortable to be in your area of expertise and stay there.
Yeah.
Now, there are programs that I think should be promoted more aggressively. Mm-hmm. Things like Fulbrights. There are Fulbrights every year that people aren't subscribing to. I talked to a couple of people here tonight about the Fulbright Specialist Program. I just came back from Belgium on a Fulbright Specialist. 2022, I went to India for a month on a Fulbright Specialist. Fulbright Specialist programs are looking for things like this. They're looking for people. Yeah. And this is the way for the faculty, one way for the faculty to look in new areas, interact with a different set of faculty so they kind of knock them out of the notch or that they're in. Yeah. So I think we need programs like that. And I heard a lot of what you said about excellent things about what we're doing for students, minorities, women. What about our faculty?
Thank you. Yeah, wonderful question. And as a Fulbright fellow myself, I can also attest to the incredible experience I had living a year abroad in that. And We just had our third Fulbright awarded in the college, and this last one, she got it as a global Fulbright, so she gets to go to 3 countries instead of just one for a year. So you ask a great question, and I have to say, it's leadership, right? So department chairs can't just drive faculty to be productive, right? They have to give them space to learn, right? We're in a university to learn, right? And we can't forget that as faculty, right? We have to give ourselves time to learn new things, right? Every year as a dean, I have a coach and I do cohort education myself. So I am continuously learning and I try and drive that. All of my department chairs, I ask them to participate in personal growth, right? I think, when I just flash the numbers, I can intimidate faculty in saying, oh, it's all about the number of PhD students you graduate or the number of papers you produce. No, it's about your willingness to learn and to continue to grow. And, so a few of the things we do, we just finished, and I'll thank Rob Davis for this, a former dean. I was part of what was called the FLAG, Future Leadership Advancement Group, and so we're doing that again. So we had a cohort of 9 faculty this year, and they're assistant and associate professors who were teaching what does academic administration mean. And we're not just teaching them the nuts and bolts, we're teaching them how to have faculty continue to grow and learn, and what are those additional programs, right? I think you really hit it. The faculty who are struggling with this are the ones who aren't embracing learning something new, right? But we should never, ever stop that. Whether it's Fulbright, whether it's participating in your professional society, whether it's, being abroad. One thing I instituted as dean was what's called differentiated workload, which is for teaching faculty. So now teaching faculty, they're not eligible by Regent rules for sabbatical, but they're eligible for college rules by sabbatical. So our teaching faculty get a semester off every 6 years to go grow and learn new things, right? So I'm with you, and I could highlight other things that we've done, but we need to embrace being in a learning culture, right? But also it's rough because what I wish I could do is say, everybody teach one fewer class this semester and go learn about AI, but I can't practically do that either, right? So it's a balance, right? Yeah.
So because AI came up so often,
Yes.
I sometimes ask people, well, where did AI came from? It didn't fall out of the blue sky, and it didn't start in November 2022 when ChatGPT came on the market. I was actually hired to CU in 1984 based on my background in AI.
So we can blame you on all of this. Yes.
And I mean, there was another big thing in the mid-'80s around expert systems.
Yeah.
There was a huge hype like it is now. Eventually it failed. And then AI window came along. So in the first 6-8 years where I was here, if you wrote a proposal to NSF, you should definitely include AI till the early 90s. If you wrote a proposal in the 90s, you should never ever mention AI because this was the AI winter. So an interesting question which people can debate, will there be another AI winter? So this was a little bit the background. What I find interesting is, and there is this big differentiation, will AI replace human beings or will it empower human beings? And so many things what you said, sure, AI can do that fairly well. I mean, I ask people, do you use Google Maps? And 90% say, sure, what should I do? And we can ask, do people lose geographical knowledge, or should we teach geographical knowledge which Google Maps not fulfills? And so I think what AI does, and we always worked in the empowering paradigm, it makes us think, what are the remaining human capabilities which AI cannot do?
Yeah.
And I would sort of encourage, everyone with whom I talk, that we should focus on those capabilities. I mean, I use ChatGPT all the time, but it doesn't take work away from me. It makes me reflect actually more about what I am doing.
Yeah.
And I think it's a powerful tool. But it's not the tool itself, it's how the tool is used in an educational and research setting. And so I think the future should be to reflect on the human side.
Yeah.
What can we do uniquely, and find ways to use the tool in this way?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, my example of the lack of hiring in computer science right now, in 5 years, those companies are going to be paying for it. Right, because when our students are empowered and can use that, they just won't have the workforce that's out there because of this. So let me ask you, do you foresee another AI winter coming?
Well, I think that there are many interesting questions. And another question which I had earlier, what engineering often does, it says, we couldn't do certain things, and now we can do them. For me, we should also ask, shall we do it? And a good example, I don't know how many of you followed this. I mean, there was Anthropic who said, no, we will not do mass surveillance and automatic warfare. And they got punished by that. But this is sort of more, a company stood up and said, no, we should not do this. Yeah. And I think when you said earlier interdisciplinary work, I think, and we did this, I was in the Department of Engineering, but also in the Institute of Cognitive Science. I mean, I worked a lot with people outside of engineering, and I found this really very successful collaboration. And so I would say, to avoid, I mean, not to avoid an AI winter, but to enrich the understanding of what AI could do, should not do, you may, I would encourage to reach to interdisciplinary collaboration, which include human beings as a central focus.
Wonderful advice. Yeah, and one of the things our computer science department is doing, and thank you, right now is thinking, should they be teaching AI or should they be looking at computing plus or AI plus, right? So, we might not need the coders, but boy, the financial industry, the medical industry, the librarians, and they all need computer scientists and work in AI. And so we're actually, instead of them just being narrow coders now, they're actually thinking, how do my love of computing and my love of data impact the world in a broader way? And I think it actually is turning into a richer set of education because of it. Yeah, and how are we doing on time? Okay, one question on Zoom as well, and then we needed to finish at 4:30 or a little before, or what was the time? 4:30, okay, yeah.
My question as a neophyte, how are we relating what's our conversation with other universities outside of the United States? How are they teaching? How are they embracing AI? Are we ahead? Are they embracing it in a different fashion? Or are we studying it at all?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would go back to Gerhard as well here, but I think we've become much more of a global society, especially when we're thinking about technology, right? There is kind of an arms race between China and the US. India will be coming into it as well, others, but I think it's more political fodder, actually. I think we're seeing incredible inventions just coming out of, different backgrounds and different cultures. I know the international work that I've been doing, it seems like everybody's struggling at the same pace. But yeah, would you have anything to add to it? Yeah, and please use the microphone here so folks online can hear.
The Europeans in 2024 already got together and created an European AI Act, which had many of the guidelines, and they have been developed ever since. So, I mean, these aspects like mass surveillance plays a big issue. I mean, you all know, what information is out there, which different systems know about us. And so as an exercise, if you have never done this, I would recommend use ChatGPT or Claude, whatever, and ask them about the European AI Act. And you will get a very nice response where really important information is collected. And then you can progressively deepen this. You can say, how does this compare with American efforts in the same directions? And you do this not to blindly accept whatever these systems tell you, but to kind of deepen in fact, trying to find answers what you ask.
And we had a question online. You can just unmute and ask your question and we'll hear here. Who was queued up? Frank. Oh, you're still muted there, Frank.
Yeah.
Again, I still don't believe you're retired.
Yeah, I'm okay now.
Every day in the office.
I should be okay. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
we can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
My question is, if you take the typical homework problems we've given for years and the students can click an answer on it, how do you push in directions to see that they get a fundamental understanding of the thing? I know some of the things I learned best were ones I had the hardest to learn as freshman and sophomore. So I'm curious as to how that making it easy versus having to struggle through things, and how do we wind up keeping some of the advantages you get when you really have to fight hard to learn something?
Yeah, it's a great question, Frank. And I think our best faculty are having those difficult conversations on the first day. They're doing innovative things like doing work in class without computers, like sharing exactly when to use AI and when not to use AI, and then thinking about testing differently as well. Take-home tests are really difficult at this fashion. Some folks are going to oral exams again. Honestly, I think the students really want to learn it. And if we don't discuss what's the best way and how do you use these tools, they'll see right through us if we say, don't use the tools because we don't want to deal with them ourselves, right? They'll see right through that. If we say, if we take the time, Frank, and say, we're going to teach you how to solve these problems, and here's how and when AI can help you get out of it, and or help you practice, or help you, learn, and then you do have to set up your. We have a few faculty who I completely disagree with. They're doing what's called trap questions. So like you can actually determine if AI solved it, and then they just fail the students on it and try and catch them using AI, versus really discussing it with them and having them challenged, but they will have AI the moment they graduate, right? And so, you know.
Well, I can tell you what I've done on the class I've teaching, which homework problems don't fit, that I taught last fall. I have them read papers, write a summary, then get an AI version and tell me the difference between the two.
Perfect.
What did the AI miss? What did it, and where did it improve it? And that seemed to help a part of the problem. It doesn't solve some of it, but it did solve some. I think I got reasonable results with that approach.
Perfect. Thank you, Frank. Yeah. Are there other questions online? I think we're a small enough group. You could just unmute and ask your question. Okay. Other questions here?
Can I quote all of that?
Of course.
It relates a little bit to this. So yes, what Frank said, in some ways, it's a symbiotic relationship. He says, you answer the question and AI answers the question, and then we compare it. And that's a very effective way. Yeah. I mean, in the old days, when I wrote a paper, I gave it to my colleagues and said, you criticize this. Now I can give it to an AI system. Yeah. And just like my colleagues' words, I didn't take literally and said, you are right 100%. But it originated in interesting conversations. My last remark, and I try to study this, so human societies moved from oral to literate societies a long time ago. Even we are all relatively advanced people, but we didn't live then, right? So there were extensive discussions between Socrates and Plato. And Socrates was deeply convinced that humans would just become dumb. They would lose their memory because instead of memorizing something, they would write it down. And Plato was convinced, well, if we can write it down, maybe we can transcend our memorization capabilities. And probably we would say Plato in some way won, and we spent in immense effort to help people to read and write. And for me, the current discussion about AI is a modern version of this discussion which took place a few thousand years ago.
Sure. Yeah. Cool. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Oh, yeah. If I could just, oh, thanks. Yeah. No, if I could just close by honestly thanking all of you, your engagement. If there's ever any way that you want to be engaged with the college, engaged with faculty, engaged with students, please reach out to me. We benefit so much from your experience and your willingness to participate. And you know, I am really I can't even imagine what's coming next for the college and the university, right? I mean, we're talking about a little bit about student learning, but think about the fluid dynamics programs or problems that we've been trying to solve for a century that we're like now going to solve, right? Or, you know, the new medical solutions, the new material solutions, all of these things that we've been on the cusp of that are actually going to be solved or we're going to be able to benefit from. So I know there's a lot of chaos out there, but I just think what's in front of us, and because of this university is just incredible and inspiring. So anyways, thank you. I really appreciate it.